tough. Yeah, it's just good. It is what it is.
I remember we sat here with you after 2022 and you said you could go to battle with this group over anybody else in this league. You guys have taken so many steps. How much different is it after the steps you've taken now? And I'm not ever going to call this a step back, but how do you look back at going 15-2 and losing in the disappointment of all this, with all the growth this organization has gone through?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, just like you said, we had a great regular season, and to, I guess, fall short, it's just tough, so I don't know.
Does it feel, in your words, like a step back because you guys didn't get to the same point that you got last year?
I don't know.
What's the hardest part about all of this?
Like losing, I guess, I don't know, but just not, I guess, accomplishing our goal.
And I'm sorry behind you, but you don't have to interrupt. You've had a night-ish to sleep on it. Are you beginning to process things, or are you stuck in yesterday, maybe mentally?
I don't know.
And Ford Field has become such a fortress for you guys. Like, you seem unbeatable there, especially in prime time, high stakes games. When you see a team come into your building last night and celebrate in your locker room next door, just what goes through you in moments like that?
Just disappointed, you know. It's always a tough feeling, being at home and seeing that. So.
What's Dan's message? I mean, I know you've been a guy that, follow Dan. What is his message to you? How has he been throughout this time as far as his leadership as well?
It's one of those things we got to take on the chin, and if you're not motivated as ever from this, then you just got to look at the man in the mirror at the end of the day. So, yeah, just looking forward to next year.
Lots of disappointed fans, lots of disappointed players coming out of that loss right there. But today we're going to talk about, my name is Russell Wayne. We're going to talk a little bit about the NFC Championship, the AFC Championship. We're going to go over Brad Holmes just spoke to the media, and we're going to react to that as well on this episode of Lion Villain Report.
Hey, yo, the lies so that you never make it. Hopeless, so it seems. Eyes closed, candles open wide to embrace your dreams. Sometimes you gotta take a loss just to get the win. Like lots of sin was popping in like oxygen when boxes wet. Focus on the mental, never lose like a smooth instrumental. Better choose on the move in a pinto. Choose when I get to, never lose smooth on the move, but it's simple. Never give up and we running it, maybe. We just keep winning, we conquering daily. Envision that pay me, it's never to sway me. Indigenous, maybe we winning this crazy. Your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity. This your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity. This your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity. This your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity.
Yeah. Welcome all, ladies and gentlemen, to the Lion Villain Report. I am your host. It's your boy, Russell Wayne, broadcasting live into the Lion Villain Squad Facebook page, the Lion Villain Squad YouTube page. We are on Roku with the Huddle Sports Network with Bill the Packer fan and Mike the Bear fan. We are live on the Detroit Lions News Podcast with Joe Chapp and their huge network. We are the UDFA of sports podcasting. We aren't the best podcast that's out there, but we're going to keep on grinding until we are right there. We are brought to you by NFL Shop. Scan that code right there, and you can save up to 25% off of your order from our affiliate marketing partner at NFL Shop. So go get your swag on. Ah, man, it's faith, family, and then football here in that order. I mean, you use football, spend time with your family, create those memories. Don't let football use you. That's right. So welcome one. Welcome one, welcome all, ladies and gentlemen, to the show. I've actually just kind of learned to roll with, all of our technical difficulties. Like, I do get some technical difficulties on there. I love Restream. I love some of the features that it has because I can show you stuff, like my little ticker right there. And we're on the last week of our live 6 days a week, going to the off season, baby. Now we have to look forward. That's all that we can do. I don't think that we have any fans of anybody outside of the NFC North in here, but let's see who we have in here for today. Good morning, Dwayne. Good morning, Dwayne. Good morning, Dave. Our resident Bear fan is up in the house. Good morning. Broski's in the house. Jody's in the house. Dwayne Keen's in the house. Mooncard Blade, what's up? What is up? I like that. You like that? You like that? And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about right there. Those reporters. It's like, well, how do you think these guys feel? Right? I mean, all kids, the Bears go through it, the Packers go through it. You lose games. And what are you doing? Hey, Panay, you just lost the game. And it seems like it's getting to you a little bit. Why is that? Shut up. I mean, why would you? It feels like they like to rip the big reporters do, right? They go in there and ask the tough questions, all the stuff that people want to hear about, right? I feel bad for them when they go right in there, right? I mean, going right in right after losses. But I did see queued up here in a minute, but I did want to talk a little bit about this. These championship games. There's only 2 games right here, but I'm just looking through here to find out. Oh, there's Maurice. We got Maurice in the house. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. Matthew, what's up? Ren Nicker. What's up, John? Henry Gray's in the house. Gun guy. He's out there taking tan. And I keep on breaking up. Yeah, I see it. It keeps on coming through and telling me that interrupting. They ask the dumb questions. I feel bad for them. It is hard to lose. It is hard to lose. We've had so much news this week. It's been an overload. It's been an overload of news. There's been like 8 weeks of news, all pumped into 3 days. And, with Ben Johnson going to Chicago, and honestly, all the kidding aside and everything, I mean, I hate him now. He's public enemy number 1. I want everybody to understand that I can have a healthy respect for Ben Johnson and everything that he's done here. I mean, I'm not going to be one of those guys that's going to get up here and go, well, yeah, Ben cost us everything. I put up a post yesterday. I'm glad that Amon-Ra St. Brown said what he said on his podcast, because he said that Ben was locked in and everything, because I think some Lion fans really needed to hear that. You know, you talk about ripping the Band-Aid off. This guy's bared down. He's bear down the next day. And that is hard for some of the fan base to do, because that's some Benedict Arnold stuff. Now, I'm not going to take anything away from him as a coach. And as a Lion fan or a fan of the Packers or any rival team, Ben Johnson, with a talented quarterback like Caleb Williams, and Ben Johnson will draw that entire offense around Caleb Williams' skill set. So let's be real about the possibilities there. You're talking about a generational talent that might have been fused with a generational offensive talent. Now, I don't know if Ben Johnson can run a team yet. I don't know if Ben Johnson can run a team yet. But I do know that if you just take his offensive mind and put it with Caleb Williams, they need to draft some offensive linemen. See, that's the worst thing that Bear fans have to come to grips with, is you can't take the offensive linemen and all of our playmakers with you with our run game. And you do got some good offensive weapons over there, but they're nothing like our offensive weapons, especially with our offensive line. That's the biggest thing that you're missing over there. So can Ben Johnson work his magic over there with less talent? What that remains to be seen, but the Caleb Williams is a talented player. I'm sorry, I see the reconnects too, so I don't even try to keep talking over them. I just wait until it reconnects. So I see that I'm having bad connection issues like usual. I live in Flint, Michigan. So yeah, am I worried about Ben Johnson going over there? I'm not worried about Ben Johnson going over and being their head coach. I think it's a good fit for them. I think Chicago can put themselves up right in contending for the division every year, going to the playoffs with Ben Johnson as the coach. I think that's a good hire. But it doesn't take anything away from where the Lions have grown over the last few years. And you got to remember, they got Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn from position coaches. This kind of seems to be like how they promote. They promote from within. You know, Antoine Randall may end up being the offensive coordinator. You know, if they can retain Hank Fraley, I don't know if they want Hank Fraley as the offensive coordinator. I'll tell you what, that would be a good move for the Chicago Bears to do. Hank Fraley is also going to be interviewing with the Seattle Seahawks for their open offensive coordinator position. So if you're a Bear fan, like Broski Bear is, you should feel really good about that hire. Caleb and Ben seem like a really good match. I think that if Caleb Williams is going to be a good quarterback in the NFL, that Ben Johnson is the right coach. And that's looking from the outside. That's just being real. But that doesn't automatically make them better than the Lions. The Lions still have the loaded offense. And that's the thing that that people tend to forget. Like, Lions have vacant positions now, right? But what they don't have is a lot of holes on their roster. They're not coming in and being like, well, at least I got all these draft picks and we can fill those holes. We don't have holes. We can upgrade talent. You can always upgrade talent. We don't have holes. We have the core foundation of our team set here. Defensive coordinator, right? It could be Mark Brunell. It could be Antoine Randall. It could be Hank Fraley. It could be somebody from the outside of 222 Rodwood Drive. Shout out to Lions. So, but you look at that. Is it going to be hard to find an offensive coordinator? Should we be worried that nobody's going to come and want to coach the Lions? Which with Shabir Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, a loaded offensive line. Top 5 quarterback. Yeah, that sucks. Oh, who would want to come and coach that? So, I mean, I'm not all that worried about it. So, like, to me, when you become a good team, like the Lions are a good team. So when you become a good team, like the Lions are a good team now, you aren't as concerned when people leave your team about what that team's going to do. You know that you have the right infrastructure in place. I mean, you're losing guys because you have a good infrastructure. And I want to prepare Lion fans for this. And I could be wrong. I was wrong on this. I didn't think Ben Johnson would go to Chicago, and I was wrong. I'm not always right with stuff like this, but a lot of my intuitions are right. And I want to prepare Lion fan for this. I don't think they're going to go out and get Robert Saleh or a big name Dennis Allen. I don't think they're going to do that. I think the Bears are going to do that. I think the Bears are going to go out and get the big name guys. I think they want to make their splash, big off-season thing that they do. And they're going to go get the big names. And Lion fans, I'm just preparing you that Kelvin Shepard is probably going to be the defensive coordinator. Okay? I'm preparing you for that. I'm also preparing you that they may promote Scotty Montgomery as the offensive coordinator. They might have Hank Fraley just promoting from within. The offensive and defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions is already signed to a contract. They will be promoted. Do I like it or do I not like it? I'm indifferent. I don't care how they do it. There would be no Ben Johnson if they didn't do it this way. Ben Johnson was the tight ends coach. And when he got promoted to offensive coordinator, everyone went, who? Ben who? And I remember I had to do defense shows off of Ben Johnson. I had to tell people that he was an up-and-coming coach, that he's been with Dan in other spots. bringing him along. Aaron Glenn was the same thing. He was a defensive backs coach. And you brought him over here. I don't know if he can run whole defenses. So, you may be into that type of deal on how they're going to promote, or you may not be. What do you think? Do you like the way that the Lions do it? Because I'm at the spot where I really just don't think that they're going to go out and make the big splash. Now, if they go out and get Robert Saleh, am I going to be upset that one of those big names is my defensive coordinator? No, because those guys got experience. It's a smart move. So, what's better? I don't know. I don't know what's better. No, Steve. It's not Bear Johnson. It's Benedict Johnson. Benedict Johnson. That's Benedict Arnold right there. The thing is like he only took away from him. Here's a hot take right here on Ben Johnson, because I feel like your mind has to pay in karma, right? And right there, what Ben Johnson did is he skipped karma. When you lose a playoff game with a team and you don't take the time to mentally go through that, like Dan Campbell compared it to losing a child. Like you got that loss of a child feeling, right? Like that. I couldn't imagine. I don't want to ever imagine. Actually, I almost did imagine. And that's one of the reasons I believe in God today. You almost lose your child. But Ben Johnson didn't go through that. Ben Johnson the next day is smiling and having fun, saying, bear down. Now, I'm not... There was a famous coach way back in the day named Nick Saban that did the same thing and went on to win national championships afterwards, be one of the greatest coaches of all time. I'm not saying he's ever going to pay for this in the NFL, but there's something that stirs in your soul when you don't, grieve that deal. Move right on to the next thing without closing that other chapter. And it wouldn't have done anything either. So that's the other thing is, Ben, we didn't want to make it personal. I look at Aaron Glenn, and I'm happy for Aaron Glenn. He went out the door. He let the wound hit there for a couple days. Went out, went to an AFC team. Didn't go to a division rival, right? Ben Johnson was wearing a bear hat the next day saying bear down. Now, I'm not saying he didn't care about the team because he made us the best offense, ran the best offense. So I got nothing bad to say about what he did here. It's the way that he went out. He made it personal. And if you don't see the professional, rib jab right there. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a competitive league. There's only 32 of these jobs. So I don't hate Ben Johnson for leaving. But I do hate Ben Johnson now because he coaches for the other team. Same thing with Matt Stafford. I love Matt Stafford while he was here, but now he plays for the other team. And I know some people can't compartmentalize that. No, I love him as a person. Like, you went out and you hit the ribs on the way out. Like, not only did you not grieve, but you took your grieving friends and you jabbed them on the way out. That wasn't my intention, Russ. You're too soft. I'm not being soft. I'm being real. It is. It is what it is. But now the Lions got to replace coordinators. And really, I don't think they need to replace coordinators. I think they're going to need to replace position coaches. Because their position coaches are going to move up into the coordinator position. So that's going to leave position coach vacancies. I do believe it's going to be Kelvin Shepard. I do believe it's going to be Mark Brunell or Haley or Scotty Montgomery. But they've been grooming these coaches. These guys, one of the reasons they came here was because they knew that they would get coaching opportunities. And if you didn't know about the Aaron Glenn and part of the Rooney Rule is now that Aaron Glenn has left for a head coaching job, part of the Rooney Rules is the Lions get 2 third-round picks, compensatory at the end of the 3rd round. So essentially it's like top of the 4th round picks for Aaron Glenn. Now, why is that important? Now, why is that important? Because last year, the Lions used their late 3rd round pick. They used this year's 3rd round pick, which is going to be a late 3rd round pick, to get Giovanni Manu, a developmental guy, which ironically, they knew they weren't going to get to use the first year. The guy's got something that you can't teach, but they had to teach him some stuff. But now, since Aaron Glenn has moved on, I'm getting disconnected so long, I'm losing my train of thought. I'm sorry about the connection. It makes me angry too. For the love of God, stop disconnecting. Makes me want to punch babies in the face. Gosh. And it's like you can't even call Xfinity and bitch at anybody. I can't hold anybody accountable for this. They just get to suck and take my money. So much fun. Keep disconnecting. I'm going to go into this Brad Holmes thing before I throw this freaking television screen across the freaking room.
So look, I fell short of the goals that we set out to accomplish this year, and it stung. It's humbling, but won't allow it to discredit all the positives that we were able to accomplish as well this season. The wins and another division title, and being undefeated on the road, being undefeated in the division, and look, call it what it is, a historically tight division race this year. So, and look, that's the whole organization had a hand in that, and I can't thank the players enough for all their sacrifice and commitment, and their response through the adverse moments that arose. I thought Dan did a phenomenal job having the team prepared. Look, 15 wins. That's hard to do a year where you don't have all the attrition that we had to deal with to get 15. But on top of all the attrition that we had to deal with to get, that's about as difficult as it gets. So that was a heck of a job by him and the whole coaching staff. You saw a lot of players make jumps and get better and continue to improve. So was happy for those fans. Look, they still, once again, they showed up and did their part, and they pulled their end of the bargain. Wish we could have done more for them. I'll never forget, we were down in Houston, and then went to college with, that was his first away game that he had attended, and he couldn't stop talking about what our fan base, how they showed up and basically invaded Houston, and he was just in awe. And I was just telling, that was just the only away game that he had ever seen. But they take so much pride in it. Again, just wish that we could have done more for them. But hey, look, it happened. It happened, and you can't sulk it back, can't mope a reversal of the unfortunate outcome. So there's literally nothing else to do. This process already started. So, questions?
Yeah, come on. Come out. I was going to say, I mean, as much as I like having the music in the background, maybe that's part in here, and we're going to see how that does, but maybe they'll still kick me off. But, I mean, that's exactly what you got to do right there. That's it in a nutshell. I mean, what else can you do? It's disappointing. Sulking isn't going to do anything about it. I mean, I understand. There's a little trash talk on our program. I hope everybody got that out of the way. The same spots. Everybody choked last year, okay? And now there comes that part of the new beginning feeling, right? And Bear fans got to fans are going to get to do the same thing too. Got a loaded roster and a shit ton to spend in this offseason. I know that the sky is falling, when it comes into 2026, after this next season, because the contract, but they'll make some restructures. Everything's going to be okay on that. They have over 150 million in cap equity is like what I would like to call, because in 2026, simple through Goff's contract, through Amon-Ra's contract, Sewell's contract, that contract, Montgomery's contract, they're going to be able to keep their people. And I think that's the most exciting part. From a talent perspective, right here. This man, Brad Holmes, this man can he's got to be salivating at the mouth. Some of these pieces, and you don't, and then you're drafting very specific every year because you got a lot of these guys on rookie contracts. Now you ain't gonna be able to keep them all. You're not gonna be able to sign all of these guys long term, but that's a beautiful thing. Just get back to work. Just get back to work. You know, you had one year at what I like to call the full strength team, and you know they went 15-2, and the injuries ended up catching up to them, man. Because I don't want to use injuries as the excuse, but more like the reason. Because I have to look and feel in my mind, man, could that game have turned out much different if we would have had Aiden Hutchinson and Aleem McNeil? Are our best players going to get injured every single year? No, they're not. You know, sometimes you hit the bad luck of everything, and it's not an excuse. You got to get it done anyway. You blew a good opportunity to win a Super Bowl still. Even without Aiden Hutchinson, you still had an opportunity. But you have to go back and wonder, I wonder what would have happened if you had those guys, right? And going into next year, how do you not be hopeful thinking about those guys altogether, knowing you don't have glaring holes anywhere? So more on Brad Holmes right here. I'm babbling.
What steps need to be taken to kind of take a step forward in 2025?
Yeah, I just think that we just stay the course and just keep building like we've been. I do think that we're very close. Obviously, I thought we were very close this year, but nothing's going to kind of alter, what our approach has been in terms of trying to continue to improve and keep building. But obviously, I do think we're very close. Obviously, felt really good about this season, but fell short. But we're going to stay committed and stay committed to the process.
Urge to fight overreacting when you have the disappointing end that you have?
Like, what do you mean?
Just, I mean, do you feel an increased urgency, I guess, to make changes or approach things differently when what's the weight of 15 wins versus the early exit in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it sucks. It's humbling, but no overreaction. Honestly, what I was talking about there's nothing else to do but get back to work. You guys have heard me talk about trying to battle recency bias, and not being a prisoner of the moment. And look, we just fell short, and it wasn't our day. But no, I don't think you can be a prisoner of the moment and just kind of make all these crazy wholesale changes. Now, look, we'll assess and evolve like we always do every year, and we'll work to improve. But literally, there is nothing else to do but get back to work, and that's what we've been saying from day one. Is it's all about the work, and that's what we'll continue to do.
Where does the same topic just, does it push you closer to like an FM-Dix approach? You know what I mean? Like thinking we're this close, maybe we need one thing to get us over the hump. Is there any? I don't know. How do you weigh that sort of, approach to the offseason?
Yeah, it's a fair question. Look, it's probably relative to what you would say. Is there a window, or is there a window that you need to stay in? And I think that we've done a good job doing our best we can to avoid windows. And I understand that contracts come up, and stuff happens, but we feel really good about our quarterback and how he's playing, having let's call it an MVP caliber season this year. So I just think that all the pieces are in place, that I don't really feel walls closing in or a window. And again, we kind of make an effort to avoid those kind of things.
Brad, where do you think you guys need to get better? Is it pass rush? Is it offensive line? Some of those guys are getting older.
I mean, look, Yeah, when you're down 5 defensive ends due to injury, then I don't know who has a 6th, 7th, and 8th effective pass rusher. So when you get down that low, then yes, you could say. But, you know, when we were at full health, I thought our pass rush was pretty good. I thought the whole defense. I mean, I think it was self-explanatory in terms of the numbers of what we were able to produce before that attrition happened. But honestly, we'll always look at all areas, and we'll always at all areas. Look, you guys have seen us do it before. I'm back in the first round when we had a pretty damn good linebacker room at the time. You know, we doubled down that that we don't really. We just try to just, as players that we think is fit, add the best free agency will be upon us quickly. That's when you kind of can do the fun stuff of the depth chart and filling in holes on the depth chart. But after that, we'll just kind of just find the best players.
That you wouldn't take normally, like adding the veterans instead of draft picks. A place where you're at now at that point where you might make that sacrifice when you normally wouldn't if you're trying to build, but you're at that point now, maybe I'll add that one veteran and give up picks for later or give up young players to get something that will put me over that last hump.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we've done that in the past where we've added some veteran players, whether it's free agency or, you know, we had a trade for a veteran pass rusher and expend draft capital for that player. So we're not scared of that. It has to be the right player. So you can't look at it in kind of a transactional mindset and say, well, we got to get this veteran player and get rid of, like, well, if it's the right veteran player that can help us and it's the right fit, then we have no problem doing it if it's going to help our football team. But we've always said we're going to build through the draft, and I think that's why we're in the position that we're in from a quote-unquote window standpoint of having the comfort to keep building like we have been.
How did it feel from your perspective as far as, you know, curating this team, getting all the pieces, adding the veteran pieces through free agency, the draft, all this stuff, and then all the injuries, especially on defense? Did it feel like the Jenga tower or someone just knocked it over after you spent so much time putting that thing together?
I never looked at that analogy. That's a pretty good one. But no, look, I want to make sure I answer this because it's a lot of ways I can answer this. I've always told y'all as we approach this time with player acquisition, when we're signing guys for free agency or drafting guys, I've always been very upfront with y'all about it's the names on the depth chart when we're not playing football. It's going to change, unfortunately. I've told you guys, look, we're looking at this thing, what's going to look like November and December, and that's why me and Dan are so heavily concentrated on depth, even though when sometimes it's like, man, why didn't you sign, you know, that most expensive free agent? Well, we're trying to cure depth because this kind of stuff happens. So we've kind of stuck true to that, but because I've always thought about that, when the injuries happen, I guess I'm mentally prepared for them a lot better. Now, you don't know to what extent it is, but really from a negative emotion standpoint, I just feel bad for the players, really. I feel like the players put so much into it, and a lot of times it's bad luck. You know, when you look at some of these injuries of how they happen, it's like there were some of them just bizarre. So, you know, I hate it for the players because they put way too much into it to get the rash of bad luck. But in terms of how we roll, look, I say from a positive standpoint or positive emotion, it actually kind of fuels me, and it fueled our personnel department as the attrition piled up to, like, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? It happened. Just like I said, that divisional loss happened. What are you going to do? The injuries happen. You can't pout them back to health. Again, you hate it for the players, but what are you going to do about it? And I do think our personnel department did a really good job in terms of responding and doing what they had to do, and a lot of credit just to the process. So we weren't scrambling, we weren't finding guys at the last minute. A lot of guys that we added were identified early on in the process, and guys that we thought was going to fit, and they did. And also credit to the coaches, just getting those guys ready to play and contribute that quick. That's very hard to do. So, but yeah, I don't really. It sucks, yeah, but it happens,
It really does suck that they lost the playoff game, but it really is impressive what Brad Holmes did with the draft and what he's been able to do with winning 15 games with the injuries that he did have, with all those guys on our IR, for a guy that doesn't make any excuses about injuries. And I think the most impressive win in that regard was when they beat the Packers, because in that game, that was the week after they had lost Aleem McNeil, and they already lost Aiden Hutchinson. And I mean, the whole defensive line was injured. They brought in like Miles Adams, some Jonah Williams. These guys were like from other teams' practice squad. Jamal Adams they brought in that week. And, they're able to, because of the talent, they know what type of guys that they want, and mixed with the coaching, they were able to get wins being so decimated. It was so impressive, because those are games they should have lost. When you're down that many guys, everybody's already giving you the excuse of why you're going to lose. You can't overcome all those injuries, and in the end, 45 points, you give it up in the playoffs, it ends up getting to you. Injuries are the reason, they're not the excuse. They never made any excuses about it. But when it comes down to it, you lose Amik Robertson, on the third play of the game, you're already down your, two best cornerback. And there you are again with Kendall Vildor. That's out there. And I'm sorry, the Commanders are just too damn good to not win against that like our 4s and our 5s. So I'm glad that they don't go out and do all the superstar signings, because it's kind of like throwing it all in for 1 year. And yeah, I would take it in an all bet year that works. But if you go all in and it doesn't work, then it's like you set yourself back a couple of years. I would rather compete for a strap every year. And if you make it into the playoffs, you have a chance to win the Super Bowl. And, they accomplished the first feat this year, which is something that Lion fans aren't even used to. So keep it going, Brad. Keep it going.
Of an obstacle, if at all, is it to rebuild your staff now with the coordinators and possible other coaches? I know you were prepared for it, but is it still a difficult thing to traverse?
I mean, yeah, obviously there's difficulties. I have so much respect for the unknown that you can't, know exactly what's going to happen. Obviously, we were prepared to lose those guys. Those guys are great coaches, and I mean, just call it what it is. We're lucky to have both of them this year. I know Dan has been preparing for it, and I have the full faith and trust in Dan to make sure that, we're going to have the right people in place in those spots. But he's been able to, he's had to encounter that before, not at the coordinator level, but other position coaches, and it's always worked out. So it'll be good.
You talk about culture fits with players. What are some of the pillars that you look for in a coordinator?
Oh, well, I think he's going to have to be he's going to have to be adaptable. He's going to have to be smart. He's going to have to be able to adjust, make sure that he's putting the players in the best position to succeed. And so those are some of the characteristics I think is a good culture fit for a coach here. I think that our identity kind of shows. So most coaches that choose to take a position here, same as a player, I think that they know what they're about to walk into in terms of how we play and what our standards are.
Brady's departure impacts Jerry. How confident are you?
Yeah, there you go. With with this team, we need the coordinator, but a lot of times a coordinator might go into a situation where they're like, okay, which draft picks do you have? What kind of defensive players you get? Like, we have a lot of like rock solid guys that are going to be on the team. Most of the starting defense, there's not going to be a lot of you're walking into, a loaded, talented room that you're going to have to mold. So I think that's an attractive thing right there. And do they need to be able to adapt? Yeah, they do need to be able to adapt. And we have the players that, we could actually go through a scheme shift. We have such good players that can play inside, outside. We have the makings of a 3-4 that we could be going in after. Who knows? Where Aiden Hutchinson becomes more of an outside linebacker type of deal. So, there's a lot of options here with where we could go defensively. And offensively, I don't think they're going to try to get a guy that's going to stir the pot too much. We got an offense that's been together for 4 years. The guys got chemistry with each other. They already know how to communicate. It's really Jared Goff's offense, the Goffense now. It's like the Goffense now. He goes out there and executes with that team, with that offensive line. So I think somebody that's not going to stir the boat too much in there. So let's see what else he's got to say.
Continue ascending like he's played the last couple of years.
Say that one more time.
How do you think Ben's departure impacts Jared, and how confident are you he can keep ascending no matter what happens?
Yeah, I feel very confident in that, just because that's the other thing with coordinators leaving and, if there's tweaks to scheme and all that, as long as Dan's the head coach here and, as long as I'm here, then those are things that we talk about that, are not going to change. So, it may be a scheme tweak here or there, but if a player's going to come in here, he's a Detroit line or he's not. Same as that question about, of a coach coming in here. So I think Jared in particular, that's something that's, I know it's at the forefront of Dan's mind in terms of what's going to be the best thing for him. So I got faith that everything will be okay.
He's not a product of Ben in that system in your eyes.
No, I can't say that. Obviously, he was very productive with Ben, as a coordinator, but he had a lot of prior success before he even got here as well, in a completely different system. And I think he's a better quarterback, a more mature quarterback now than he was then when he had early success. So I don't foresee that again. I think the guy's in his prime. He's gotten better and better every year. And when I say prime, I think like just entering it. It's because he keeps ascending. I think like every single year we've been here, it's the next year has been, man, he's playing that, and the levels keep improving. So again, I just have a lot of faith in Dan, and I know that he'll make sure that Jared's gonna be in a good position.
What kind of challenge is it to keep the assistants you want to keep when they will have opportunities, I would imagine, with the Jets and the Bears?
It's obviously a challenge because you always, you want to keep the good ones, obviously, and guys that, you've gotten comfortable with and proved that they fit here. But it's just the nature of this business, and it's something that, you just have to expect. You got to prepare for it. That's going to come. That's part of the job. And it's not only in coaching, it's in personnel as well. So I've always said it's hard to keep the good ones, but I understand that when guys want to poach guys from our program, you just got to be prepared for it.
Dan said he wants to keep philosophical continuity with his staff as much as possible.
Yep.
Do you have to kind of wait to see how that all sorts out because of your collaborative process with how you shape personnel as well? Because you want to give those guys the pieces.
No, it probably goes back to kind of what I was saying earlier about me and Dan are aligned. That's the great thing about me and Dan are so aligned in what the vision is of a player coming in here on this team. So look, I've been in a lot of different regimes and under a lot of different coordinators, and I've probably heard every linebacker term. You know, there's a Mike and a Buck and a Mac and you either a linebacker for Detroit Lions or not. Like we don't alter that from a personnel standpoint. He's a linebacker. We're scouting a linebacker for the Detroit Lions. We're not looking for a Mac for somebody's, it's just so, and I think that's a great thing about me and Dan, and that's the foundation, that's the standard. We play a certain way, and I think that's been a vivid display for the past few years about what type of player we want. So I understand the question. I do understand the question because I get it, man. New coordinator comes in, it's like, well, I got to have this kind of guy and I have this kind of guy, And look, we scout everybody, we look at everybody, but there are certain core intangibles that I don't care what the arm length is of a specific player. If he doesn't play how we need him to play, then it doesn't fit.
Attrition. I'm just curious.
I love that point right there, and I wanted to address some of the stuff in the comments too. But we look for a specific type of player in Detroit, and this is why I don't really worry all that much. And I agree with what Broski says in here about you need to add stud cornerback and a couple starting defensive ends. But here's the thing about defensive ends. It's like it is a need, but it isn't a need. There's a difference between a need and a gaping hole. The Lions don't have a gaping hole at defensive end because they do have an ascending Josh Pascal that had a career year. And like I said, at the beginning of the season, he was a breakout candidate. He has proven that he can slide right in there and be a quality depth piece behind Aiden Hutchinson and Zadarius Smith. So you got Josh Pascal in there. You have opportunities to bring guys back like Kaminsky. Mekhi Wingo is still here developing. Broderick Martin is still here developing. And there's something about the third year in this Lions defense and what they're able to do. And some of these players, like I said, progression is the most dangerous thing that's out there. So yeah, you definitely want to draft defensive ends. You want to go out there and create competition right there. I hear rumors out there that Zadarius Smith might not even be here. So if that's the case, yeah, you even got to go even further into that. But our draft process and the way that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are aligned, I don't think it as much helps to pick players as much eliminates there's certain people that they're not even going to look at all, regardless. They're looking at a certain type of attitude for the culture fit, right? The guys that play our type of football, and then there's a list. And sometimes guys that aren't high on somebody else's list might be high on Dan's list. And it might be projects. But so far, all of the projects seem to work. I can't think of a GM that hits as much as Brad Holmes has done. So I have confidence in a couple of the, third, fourth year players that are on this. But I'm curious to see who's going to stay, to Broski's comment right there about the cornerback. Do the Lions retain Carlton Davis to, have that stud cornerback, on one side, a quality dude? I think there's a good chance of that. I really like Terrion Arnold, not so much in the first 8 games. I think that he was thrown out to the Wolves, and for like the first 8 games that Terrion Arnold had a very, very hard time. But I think the game has since slowed down for him, and I think that he's going to develop just fine. He's going to go into his second year, and we'll see if he can break out next year. a lot of the Lions' first-round picks, it seems to be the second year. So we'll see what he can do. But he definitely had a better second half of the season than first half of the season. And obviously, Meek Robertson, we still have him for another year too, broski. So there's 3 quality cornerbacks that we have access to. We got to re-sign Carlton Davis. I do think they'll do that. But that doesn't mean that you don't draft one. You got Ennis Rakestraw. You drafted in the second round. I mean, you don't know what he is or he isn't right now. But he's here. And he'll be in another year of development. So there's 4 cornerbacks. You can always add another one in there. Drop a talented one in there. Let them compete in there. Let them compete. That's it. You want depth. Depth helped us get to 15-2 this year. If you didn't have depth, there's no way that you overcome those injuries. So they obviously have some depth. But now what you want to do is you need studs. You need Brad Holmes to go out there and get guys that could be top 5 at their position. And so far, he's done that. So far, he's drafted, last year, Brian Branch, all-pro. This year, Kirby Joseph, all-pro. Sam Laporta, he was an all-pro last year. Amon-Ra, all-pro. Penei Sewell, all-pro. He's only been here 4 years. Got 5 all-pros. That's, young, good team. You got to feel good about that. He needs to keep it going, though. We could use another stud pass rusher. But if he's going to find those type of guys, I believe it's in the draft. It's in the draft. That bargain basement, Brad Holmes, he's going to go out there and he's going to get some free agents that you're going to go, oh, man, you could have had. You're going to get that. But no, we're going to pay our own guys. Bargain basement Brad's going to be bargain basement Brad. And he's going to draft. And he's going to draft. And Broski asks, are you feeling good about your starting cornerbacks being Arnold, Rakestraw, and AR at nickel? AR? AR and who are you talking about? I feel good about I feel good about having Arnold and Carlton Davis and Amik Robertson as 1, 2, and 3. And having Rakestraw as, a first line of depth in there, and I expect Ifeatu Melifonwu to come back. Yes, Amik. So I don't feel good about it because we haven't started our offseason. I know that, Broski, that you feel as if the Bears are the only team that's going to do stuff in the offseason. We're not going to get any players. We're not going to do anything. And I believe that we will go out and get a cornerback. But first priority to me would be to maintain the guys that already know what's going on. But if you're changing defensive coordinators, it would be a good time to move on from Carlton Davis and maybe move in with whatever new defensive coordinators in there. But secondary is an area that we can definitely get improvement. But honestly, I like our young second. I believe in our developmental process. Our developmental process is proven when it comes to it. And it's a lot because of here and Brad Holmes. Let's go deeper into what he has to say. We have what do we have? 10 more minutes of this. I'm going to react to the whole thing. This might be a little bit longer of an episode, but this is important to me.
How are you a better GM for having dealt with it this season?
That's a good question. So this was the first year, especially the attrition at one spot. I mean, obviously, linebacker, we got hit in training camp at linebacker, and then it trickled into the season. But pass rusher, and this is the first time we've had to trade for a pass rusher this year, and I will say that was the most difficult player acquisition journey that I've ever dealt with. Look, you can talk about, you can look at all these names of all these starting defensive ends in the NFL, but when you start doing the work and you start making the calls, that thing shrinks down. From availability standpoint, that thing shrinks down like this. And a lot of the guys, look, we have an early trade deadline. So you start calling these other teams and these other GMs, and they might have 4 rushers. And so forget the starters. Those guys aren't even available. Like, we're talking about 3rd and 4th. And, yes, and I can't really disagree with them where they say, look, we got 2+ months of football left, and I trade you one, and then we get another one hurt, and we only got 2. And I was like, I didn't really expect you to be rational and think about it that way, but it's true. So, there wasn't. So when we got Zadarius, he was one of a small handful of guys that were actually available to actually get that, we felt was going to compete and contribute at a starter level. So that one was, I think that one, just going through that experience, I could say up a little bit. And after the Thanksgiving Day game, I know multiple people in our personnel department, including myself, never experienced poaching 3 players on a practice squad in one day. That's because, when you're committed to that player for 3 weeks, and there's a process to poach a player from a practice squad, but never done that. You poach one guy, and then that's your one poach, and that might be your one poach for weeks and weeks and weeks. But to do 3 in one day, that was unique. That was a unique experience. But when that happened, we were very motivated. Like it wasn't a sour. So all these guys that had to go on IR that morning, and all the guys were just excited. They were motivated. They're encouraged to go in that process, and we were able to identify guys that were able to come in and contribute.
Oh man, and Brad Holmes has been nothing but an awesome GM since he's gotten here. I mean, Broski, you are an egomaniac to what Brad Holmes is doing. The Bears haven't been addressing their O-line. That is true. The Lions have sufficiently been addressing their cornerbacks. And then it's like, are you even looking or listening to yourself? You're right. That is the Lions sufficiently addressing the need right there. So the Lions have 2 cornerbacks that are going to go into their second year. And you had said that that Davis was a UDFA. I need you to stay with me in the conversation. I mean, are you just typing in what I'm saying? So let's say it again. I'm going to say it nice and slow. Yes, Davis is a free agent. I think that he should be a top priority re-sign to keep him here in the house. If you could extend him on the contract, you could restructure the ghost year in Carlton Davis's contract. The Lions still have somewhat of some control for the next couple weeks until the contracts expire. So, yes, they may not have Carlton Davis. He is a UDFA. But, yes, the free agency opens for everybody. So, they need to replace that production. But you have Terrion Arnold, you have Rakestraw, you have Amik Robertson to start with. That is not a gaping hole. That is what you call a need. So now you need to continue to address that, because in the NFL, I don't think that you can have enough quality cornerbacks. And I think the Lions have depth at cornerback when it comes to like practice squad guys that know what's going on. You know, our practice squad heroes like Khalil Dorsey that also offer something on special teams too as depth. So you need to address that. You need to address that on in the draft. That's where I think that you get those top 5 players. I think that you put Band-Aids on in free agency. Broski, Arnold, and Rakestraw were rookies. Arnold had a awful first 8 games, and then he played better down the stretch, like a lot of rookies. And Rakestraw was injured the last 6 weeks of the season and just got reactivated. So, I mean, you're going to go into the next year of progression with both of those guys. I expect Arnold to maintain the number 2 or maybe even slide into be the number 1 shutdown corner. People didn't throw at him at the end of the year. But you watch the Bears. So you can't be paying attention because you didn't even know Rakestraw was injured. So just drop a little bit on. And by the way, I've been agreeing with you. We need to continue to address that room, but we haven't been neglecting it like Chise has been neglecting the offensive line. They're not.
Offensive lineman is, I think Mahogany is ready to restart next year, and just the development of
Yeah, feel
Still
good
having
about
technical
both of them.
difficulties.
You know, you saw it early on. It's funny. Both of them I thought were in completely different places when OTA started, and Mahogany kind of started the OTAs like, man, it's not too big for him. Just stepped right in and kind of knew what to do. Where Manu was complete opposite. He's like man, like I've never. Lingo that I had to remember, and snap cadence and all that stuff. But in credit to our coaches, actually when Christian Hake, the time off being on NFI, when we returned him, me and Dan are kind of like, he's a rookie, he's missed this much time. The medical staff and the trainers knew like he was in good shape physically, but we were like, if he can help, he can help. If he can't, you know how we are with rookies. And he was like, he jumped right in. You could see it noticeably in practice where it's like, okay, get this guy active. Oh, wow. And so I think he just has to continue improving, continue to work on his game on that. But I do think that he can make that jump. And then Gio was the same way. If you watch the film of Gio in OTAs and you watch the film of Gio in practice, I mean, it literally is night and day. And so that's It's a credit to, Hank and Steve Oliver and all those guys just working with them, and a credit to him because he was clear that he's improved. So, so excited about both those guys' future for sure.
Snaps this year as a rookie. Just curious how you saw from his development from that week one to, I mean, he was a starter nearly every guy.
Yeah. No, kind of similar where we knew that it wasn't going to be too big for him. Psychologically, he's a highly confident kid, and had some up and down moments early on. Had some aggressive thing, didn't have any timid moments, but I think all those snaps that he played is going to serve him well going forward. And some up and down moments early on. Had some aggressive moments, which was a good thing. Didn't have any timid moments, but I think all those snaps that he played is going to serve him well going forward. And then you just saw like the waters were a little choppy early, and then you saw the waters kind of calm down, kind of midpoint to later in the season. So very high expectations for him going forward. Again, we all know how he's wired. He's wired the right way. He's long. He's athletic. He's got instincts. He's tough. He'll tackle. And so all those reps are going to improve his confidence even more.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm sorry about the lags in the feed, man. It's been awful today. Yeah, Broski, if you say right there about Terry Arnold, he said it way more eloquent than I did. But that was a high quality cornerback by the end of the season. Broski, before you type something else in here, I'm not chopping it up. That you're putting words in my mouth. If you're lying to yourself, Lions cornerback group was good enough last season. I didn't say that. I said that we have quality cornerbacks. Quality cornerback. Everything else, we have quality cornerbacks on there. I also agreed with you when I said that we have more work to do. I'm saying it slow because you did process it. We have work to do at the cornerback position. I agree with you on that. What I disagreed with is that it's been neglected. Like the Bears have neglected the offensive line. Agree with. So you spin it however you. We need help at the cornerback position. But I feel good about Terrion Arnold. I love the way that Brad Holmes said it a lot better than I did. Break straw is I have no idea. The guy was injured. So I'm not even really considering him other than the fact that on him and he's going to be on the team. Amik Robertson has proven to be and he's here. Terrion Arnold will be going into his second year. Those are quality pieces. I expect them to Davis. Um, I guess I'm reconnected now. All right, I'm done. I'm done with that. I'm done with that rant and the long pause in there. Before you think that I'm mad at you, Trolsky, I'm going to keep going into this uh, Brad Holmes thing, and I am very, very upset right now at my internet and my lag. So that is where my frustration is. You aren't frustrating me that bad, Trolsky. We're actually having fun right here talking about our off season. But here's some more Brad Holmes.
Zeitler back. You mentioned all the young guys there. And,
Yeah, I mean, I thought Zeitler did a good job this year. It's different when you're changing completely different schemes and kind of early on, he had to get used to how we were doing things. But once he got adjusted into that, I thought he did a really good job. A player of that age, you just got to have conversations with him. We had conversations on exit day, and then we'll just continue to have dialogue and just kind of see where it goes.
obviously, his season got ended early, but what did you think you got from him, and is there, I guess, mutual interest at all there?
Yeah, I thought we got good. I thought we got very good play from him. I will be honest. I thought that he played better this year than he did the year before. That last year in Tampa, and he'll tell you that too. But I thought we got what we wanted to get. Obviously, unfortunate that we had to lose him and be without, but we're aware of not only just Carlton, Zeitler, but we're aware of a lot of other guys that are either on expiring contracts, that had good contributions to our team this year, or guys that are worthy for an extension or in consideration for extension. And so no intense action yet, but we're very aware of it, and we'll go through our normal process, and we have updates. We'll make sure you guys know.
Some of those young guys to do some, Aiden's injury, how does that impact anything?
Yeah, we're working through all of that. Again, it's not always in our control. We might have our plans and processes, but it takes two people to get something done. So that's not a negative comment. It's just that you just don't know what that player in the camp and all that kind of stuff is thinking. So we haven't gotten to those intense dialogues yet, so that's going to be the only thing. But we have our philosophy, we have our process, but we'll just see how it goes.
Brad, staying with the offensive line for a bit, obviously it's the key to your offense, maybe outside of Jared.
Yeah.
What's the priority going into free agency and the draft with making sure the group stays where it's been the last few years?
The whole thing. That whole unit. It's not a specific position. It's not it's got to be a future left tackle, or it's a starting guard, or someone to develop behind Frank. I think when you start going in those kind of specific avenues, and you can kind of ignore something else, and I just think you got to keep the whole garden watered at all points. And so it's going to be the whole unit, because just like you said, I mean, that's the engine for us. And so I don't care how good we ever get an offensive line. That one right there is too important for not only our team, our quarterback, everything. It's our identity, man. So I think just that alone is just it's always going to be at the forefront.
What do you make of Kirby Joseph's season, and what's your level of interest or commitment to getting him a new deal this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, again, that's on the docket in terms of to be looked at and discussed. We know where he's at from an eligibility. He's an all-pro player. I mean, I don't know how you don't make the Pro Bowl with 9 interceptions. I mean, whatever. He's an all-pro player, and he's another one that's gotten better and better. So he's one that has proven that he's a Detroit Lion. He fits our culture. It's hard to find ball hawk guys that will tackle like how he does. And I think that's what makes him unique. So again, we haven't had any intense dialogue about that yet, but obviously, we want to keep the good players here. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love listening to Brad Holmes. He makes me feel better because, like, I know that there's a pocket of Lion fans that are out there that, they're not patient to that process. And it's like you realize the slow growth, and it's almost like you kind of get, used to the water as it's getting better, and you forget what 313 and 1 felt like. And then you're going, man, we just want to be competitive. We just want to, be in these games. Oh, I'm so sick of the Packers beating us. You go from that mentality like, oh wow, we actually got a couple wins against those guys, to 12-5, and going to the NFC Championship, to 15-2 in regular season, and then getting disappointed. But we're trusting the process right here. I mean, we're still in the process. I feel like it kind of came to a boiling point at the beginning of last season, or at the beginning of this season, because I actually felt like we had enough players. And I think the Lions squandered a good opportunity here, but it's not the end of the road. It's the first year of these, like, I call them like the super stud, the all pro guys. And I definitely heard Brad Holmes talking Kirby Joseph right there. I think Kirby Joseph might actually get the contract before Hutchinson does. Because Hutchinson, you can always do that 5th-year option thing. You could say you're going to pick it up. That's what they're going to have to do with Hutchinson this year. Say that. Okay, we're going to pick that 5th-year option up. And then once that's done, then you start making moves for Hutchinson's contract. But for the time being right now, Kirby Joseph, he's drafted in the 3rd round. He doesn't have, they can't do a 5th-year option with him. So, he's going into his 4th year. They still got him on the rookie deal, but they want to get this deal done this offseason. Maintain Kirby Joseph. And you got plenty of money. They got like over 40 million or something like that. They should be able to do it. And I know they're rolling over some money for this year. So I believe in what Brad Holmes is doing. I mean, on the back end of the secondary, you got it locked up, man. I think they find a way. Does Ifeatu Melifonwu leave? Or do the Lions maintain Ifeatu Melifonwu rated re-sign for the offseason? The Lions don't have gaping holes now. Just improve the roster. There's not much you need to do on offense. You're not going to need to bring in high-end running backs. You're not going to need to bring in, a quarterback. Tight ends. We're too deep on tight ends. Wide receivers. I mean, do you make Tim Patrick a priority? You're talking about number 3 wide receiver. It leaves you wide open, really, for the draft. Honestly, you can kind of go anywhere with it because you do have studs at every position. You've drafted guys. You need some cornerbacks. Yeah, get some cornerbacks. Can never have enough cornerbacks. And if you get a badass cornerback, you got depth. You're sitting on Terrion Arnold, Amik Robertson. So you're adding to a talent pool, and that's awesome. That's awesome. And you're not going to lose very many of these guys at all. You still got a lot of these guys under contract for this year. So you keep building. You bring in Iffy. Iffy's been a role player. If he takes a role player contract, I think they keep Iffy. If Iffy wants to go out and get that good money, then that's probably not going to work out for him. It depends on what he wants. Brad Holmes is not. I mean, I don't know if he does value him like that, but I don't know if he's one of those type of guys. But I like where we're at. I like where we're at. Wayne says, let's re-sign Tim Patrick. I think that's good. Re-sign Tim Patrick. I like that. You got money, man. I mean, I know all these other teams are, they're posting out there. Oh, yeah, we got so much money. We're coming to get you, Lions. You're done now. And I think the process is built. You got $46 million in cap. And I know that they hadn't rolled over that money yet from last season. Because we had $26 million rolled over from last season. So you got some money. They're probably going to be able to get that Kirby Joseph one done for this season. I mean, you ain't got to make moves on pretty much anywhere on offense. I think going out. I mean, I know that they're going to try to improve. They'll do some surprises here and there. But, Kevin Zeitler, there's another one. What do we do about Kevin Zeitler? He may even retire. But Christian Mahogany, last year's 6th-round pick, in the playoff game was the highest graded offensive lineman on the field. Christian Mahogany. So the Lions will have the opportunity to get younger, You don't hit on a lot of late round picks usually. It's been a 6th-round draft pick. I believe that the talk next year will be talked about. Graham Glasgow will be a backup player, especially if they bring back Zeitler, because then you bring back Zeitler and then it looks like Mahogany's already better. And he'll win that job. But that's why they drafted him. Trust the process. Got to trust the process. Brad Holmes hasn't done you wrong. He goes into the bargain basement. He's not gonna do anything in free agency that's gonna make you happy. At the time. It won't make you happy at the time. I think people were excited about DJ Reader. But Carlton Davis, a lot of the stuff that he does is, a little under the radar type of stuff that being solid. You spent a 3rd-round pick on Carlton Davis. I think that they're going to re-sign him. He didn't say as much right there, but we have control. Offer. If Carlton Davis is looking for the next payday, then he's probably not going to be a Lion. But if he's like, oh yeah, I like that championship culture, and I'm gonna, and he does one of those injury discount type of deals, well, that's bargain basement Brad right there. What? You want to come back? You want to give us a deal? Well, I'm bargain basement Brad. You like that? I'm here. I'm open for business. Bargain basement Brad will bring back Carlton Davis at a discount, Kevin Zeitler at a discount, And then we're going to go draft competition. So if you don't think that, the Lions haven't addressed every position, neglected the cornerback position, that's hilarious. Last year, he trades for Carlton Davis, that gets a Meek Robertson, drafts a cornerback in the first and second round. Oh, you guys have neglected it. That's hilarious, man.
We're going to buy the kneecap off.
I hope Ennis Rakestraw pans out. I really like him. I think that he'll be given a bigger opportunity next year. But I like Terrion Arnold, man. I think he's going to be a good pro. He's going to get... People didn't even want to throw to him. But I like Mahogany. Mahogany had fresh legs, but Mahogany has young legs. That's the thing about it. And it's always been next man up. It's like there are some guys that you wouldn't even think about that are going to be big impacts on this team. And he mentioned one of them right there in Giovanni Manu. Now, you didn't hear anything about him really this year because they drafted something that you can't teach. But this thing that to be taught, beyond raw. But if you get, they used a 3rd round pick on him, right? And if they can develop this guy where he contributes from a backup role in year 2, it's already worth a 3rd round draft pick because you're talking about offensive line, especially in the tackle position. That's tough. And you got the heir apparent to Taylor Decker, who was signed for 3 years. So you got 3 years to develop Giovanni Manu. Which, if you just listen to what Brad Holmes said right there, it seems like he's a little bit ahead of schedule. So I love that. I mean, there's development cases all over the place with what the Lions have done. Putting coaches, skies to position coaches, next man up. It's been working. Ben Johnson goes from just one of the extras in a player coach to a player coach to the tight ends coach to the offensive coordinator. Now he's a head coach. Aaron Glenn, same thing. He was a cornerbacks coach into defensive coordinator. Now he's a head coach. When Derek Barnes came here and he was drafted in the 4th round, everybody said he's a bust. He's a bust. And in the 3rd year, he became the Lions starting linebacker. And he's an injured guy. One of the IR guys. But that's a story. Ifeatu Melifonwu is a guy you didn't hear about. He actually came into the league as a cornerback. They developed him for 3 years, made him a safety, and now he's an impact player. Josh Pascal, 3rd year, impact player. And he was forced into that role because of so many injuries. Something about that 3rd year. You know what I'm saying? Even with Penei Sewell. They knew he was going to be a top tackle. He's like top 15, second year, top 3, now he's best. Progression. Aiden Hutchinson, Aleem McNeil, third year. Kirby Joseph, third year. So if you tell me I'm not that I'm crazy for believing in the development of Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw, I mean, I can point to 100 examples here, it seems like, right? And as far as this goes, do we get compensatory picks for losing Ben Johnson? I don't think so. We get a compensatory pick for losing Aaron Glenn as part of the Rooney Rule. I don't know if it's like a addendum to it or whatever, if it's its own separate thing. But the Lions are going to get 2 third-round picks, which I think is cool, right? You used this year's third-round pick to get Giovanni Manu last year. Now you're going to get a third-round pick for Aaron Glenn. You're going to get one this year, and then you're going to get an extra one in the following year. Now, I read up on this. This is actually kind of cool that you brought this up. I appreciate you bringing this up. But that you can make that 3 third-round picks if Ray Agnew takes a general manager position, which I think that he's up for it down at Jacksonville. I know that he's got something. He may have it down there. So they could end up getting 3 third-round picks for losing Aaron Glenn and Ray Agnew. They're developing guys that are getting opportunities. You know, kudos to those guys for getting the opportunities. I'm still mad at Ben Johnson, though, in the way that you did it. Got to jab us on the way out. That's fine. At least Aaron Glenn didn't jab us on the way out, and he went to the AFC. He probably could have had the New Orleans Saints job. He went to the AFC. The team that drafted him, that's understandable. He made our players, coaches too. But I believe in Brad Holmes, man. How do you not? How do you not believe in Brad Holmes? And like John, what Rakestraw can do. I mean, it's unfortunate that he was injured, not injured reserve for until the end of the season. I mean, even if you felt good about him, you're not going to just take the. You know, that's different with Alex Anzalone because he was the captain of your defense, you know, recovering from an injury. Ennis Rakestraw, you haven't proven yourself yet, so you're not just going to jump in and play in playoff games. So I don't think it's because he couldn't play. I think it's a trust thing, and you got to build trust. And, you know, the Lions have a way of you have to work your way up, you know, and we got guys. I hate it, but because Vildor's earned trust, I hate that. I want Rakestraw to take Vildor's number 5 cornerback. I hope that we pick up enough work free agency in drafting that Ennis Rakestraw is competing for, you know, a 5'6" corner spot. Be that strong. And you got 2 of them right there with Terrion Arnold and Meek Robinson. There's 2 of them. I want 2 more guys are better than Rakestraw, ahead of Rakestraw. Carlton Davis would be one of them, and get 1 more. And then get the competitions rolling. Let the good times roll. And that's what Brad Holmes has done. He's built competition. I'm glad that the haven't been kicked off here in a minute. So maybe at the end of all this, maybe it's all this cold weather. Maybe all of our cable is freezing And that's why I was having problems today. But I appreciate you guys for sticking around with me today. Had a lot to get off my chest. But I'm going to be doing some recorded stuff. It'll be better than this. It'll be better than this because I won't let the live people deter me. I will have an agenda with the videos that I make. But I am going to be live with you each day this week with the Lion Villain Report tomorrow, and then the final show on Saturday. And that will be the end of the Live Villain season. They ended it early for us. But that doesn't stop me. I am going to do a Super Bowl live. We'll do it next Saturday, a week from Saturday. And we'll talk about the Super Bowl. Whatever that Super Bowl matchup is going to be. But what an action-packed week of unfortunate shit that happened to the Lions. But I'm telling you guys, it's going to be okay. Brad Holmes has loaded up this roster with talent. Up and down. You got some issues that you need to address. On cornerback, you can get more linebackers, get more defensive help this year. Offense, Lions. Main forward. You got Frank Ragnar. He's playing the best football. He's finally fully healthy. Or as healthy as he's going to be. I think they're poised to do it again. Back there. And they're reloading at the same time, man. Good kudos to Christian Mahogany. That's how you do it, man. Get a couple of them interior line that take over them job. Colby Sorsdahl. Sorsdahl in his third year, I think could make a move to be decent in his third year, playing a bigger role. You know, Zeitler, Glasgow. If they move on from Zeitler, it might be Colby Sorsdahl. Wouldn't that be something? This is the Lion Villain Report. Heading into the villain off season. Thank you for watching the program, broadcasting live into the Lion Villain Squad Facebook page, the Lion Villain Squad YouTube page, the Huddle Sports Network on Roku, the Detroit Lions News Podcast Facebook page. We are the undrafted free agent, the UDFA of sports podcasting. Thank you to the people that are liking, commenting, and sharing. Commenting, most of all. I like it when you guys join the conversation. I appreciate the live crowd. If you're watching live, I appreciate and I'm humbled to the fact that 5,000-10,000 people are going to look at this over the next 24 hours or give a crap. So I appreciate the comments, questions, concerns. Thank you for supporting this podcast with this faith, family, and then football. One of the most important things that happened in that playoff game was seeing Terrion Arnold sitting right next to Jaden Daniels praying over Amik Robertson. Faith, family, and then football. It's in that order. We use football to spend time with our family and create those memories. We don't let football use us. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you until we meet again. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, everybody, for being part of the Lockpick weekend right there.
Yo, the lies so that you never make it. Hopeless, so it seems. Eyes closed, canvas open wide to embrace your dreams. Sometimes you gotta take a loss just to get the win. Like lots of sin was popping in like oxygen when boxes wet. Focus on the mental, never lose like a smooth instrumental. Better choose on the move in a pinto. Choose what I get to, never lose.